Well, what a press conference that has just been. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. I'm actually here in Las Vegas itself, been to the press conference, live and direct, 2 seats off the front row, to witness. I'm not even sure how to explain this. Yeah, we're going to go into the body language and the psychology and what it means when you're fighting somebody who, it's not just another fighter, but someone who's so close to you, who you've got that bond with. How does that impact the cerebral processes? How does that impact, the hormonal response, the eagerness, the adrenaline, the anticipation to fight? Yeah, all of that we'll discuss soon. But it was just a weird press conference. Yes, there's energy. Yes, there's, the desire to dominate each other. But also, it was a bit like having 2 12-year-old kids in the schoolyard going backwards and forwards with each other. And I think that's really what I want to do to pick up on here. All right, so if you're a betting person, if you're trying to make a prediction about the fight, the psychology that was present in the press conference, it's got to be on your radar, all right? It has to be on your radar if you're wanting to make a reasonable, educated and factual bet, if you will, rather than just letting emotion go away with you. Because again, we can all get emotional, not just the fighters, the supporters, average Joe public. But what we want to focus on here, and I'm going to, is the thing called proximals, right? Proximals. The distance between a person and another, or a person and others, if there's more than one other person in the party, okay? Because this was really at play, the proximal positioning of both Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal within the press conference. Now, this is a little bit like, or the relationship is very much like what was like Khan versus Brook across in the UK. There's history, there's build-up, there's emotion. This is my key here, right? And when there's emotion, things start to change. Things start to happen that aren't usually in place when that emotion isn't there. So most of you probably are aware of the background of Covington and Masvidal, as in, they were roommates, they were teammates, American top team, all this other stuff. That means they've got history. Obviously, they went their own ways, they parted company. The reasons for that are varied, yeah, but essentially, there's some type of negative energy there. And that's what I was really interested in, and that's what you should be interested in as well. Because from a psychological perspective, that impacts differently than when you usually are, it's just another fighter. Yeah, people can get in your face, there can be, different energies there, but it's more intense, it's more personal. You interpret that within your cognitive capabilities in a different way than you would, for example, somebody who hasn't got that history with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a number of things that were going on within the press conference. And again, please comment below. Let me know what you take on this as well. All right, let me know your perspective. If you agree with this, if you don't agree with this, yeah, let me know below. Also, who do you think is going to win and why? Have you got the balls? Have you got the conviction to put it in the comments below? So the first thing that we're going to look at here is when Colby Covington first comes out. Yeah, Jorge Masvidal is already there. And you can see that Jorge's cerebral awareness, the amygdala, the limbic system, yeah, he's looking for Covington. He's not looking anywhere else. He is looking for where that potential threat is coming from. Now, we talk about the 4 C's, the 4 levels of confidence in sports psychology, yeah, is that he's not looking anywhere. He's not afraid of that threat at that particular moment, because eye contact, one of the primary tools of engagement in the animal kingdom, of which we are, within the animal kingdom. Sometimes when you look at someone and they look at you, you look away. All right, that's not present here within Jorge Masvidal. And as soon as Colby Covington comes out, what we get is that's the trigger for Jorge Masvidal to engage with him. And the berating, the abuse, whatever you want to call it, yeah, that starts to commence immediately. And we see that play throughout the press conference.
What's up, guys?
So both of them are equally triggered by each other. equally triggered by each other. One hasn't got dominance over the other one, yeah? There's a need to dominate over the other one, which is why we see the behaviours presenting themselves in the fashion that they do, in the manner that they do, and also in the sequence that they do as well. And then this little bit here, we start talking about some type of PPP loan. All right, I've got no idea what that is, but I take it it's a derogatory term, which is why Covington starts to throw it out and talking about an Obama phone. Again, I've got no idea what an Obama phone is, but he says it in a derogatory way. And this is where we see the proximals come in. All right, this is where we see the baseline, the animalistic, if we can call it that, yeah? The animalistic need to dominate space. And the action that we know why they want to dominate that space is they start leaning in. Okay, they actually start leaning into each other. Now, they're only a few feet apart. It's not that raucous. It's not that loud. It's not that gregarious in the press conference, all right? So and you've probably done this before, when somebody said something to you that triggers you, that makes you feel threatened or that makes you feel undermined, and you don't take kindly to that, you might lean in. Yeah, you might close the distance. You've been at a table before and someone said something you don't like, you might just lean across. This is what we see going on in here. What does that prove? Well, it actually proves that each fighter is triggering the other one. They're talking about the PPP loan, they're talking about the Obama phone, a lot of stuff that's really like, I just don't get why they're talking about it, yeah? But what is happening is their limbic system, their prefrontal cortex, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the hippocampus, especially with the history that they've got, the amygdala, it's all being triggered, which is why we're seeing these behaviours. What that means is there's a lack of emotional control, which could be fantastic for the fight, yeah? They are exhibiting. Now, I'm not saying that will turn up in the fight. I'm saying it could based on the baseline behaviours that we're witnessing here. But then it sort of builds up into a crescendo where that limbic system kicks in, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the amygdala starts producing, the adrenal gland starts kicking in, and then the two of them get up to then come together. Again, what we're seeing is the lack of emotional control.
You know so much about politics. You were trying to say you know so much about politics. Let's hear it.
No, but I know about breaking your face, bitch.
No, you don't know shit. You were still sleeping from your last fight. I'm surprised they woke you up to come to this fight. I'm thankful. I know you still might back out before Saturday night. There's a lot of exits at T-Mobile Arena. You might leave before then. Just make sure you show up, bitch. Just make sure you show up, bitch. I lived in Maritz's house. I didn't live in your house, bitch. Maritza paid the motherfucking bills.
My house.
Your children.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You forget about your children, you deadbeat motherfucking dad? You a deadbeat. Maritza paid for our fucking shit. You're a handout little bitch. You took a GVP loan. You took fucking the Obama phone. Hey, you still got your Obama phone? You still got your Obama phone?
I had an Obama phone.
Yeah, you fucking did. You lying ass piece of shit. You're a lying ass piece of shit, bitch. Yeah, that's right. Right? What? Right? What?
And then there's this tit for tat, backwards and forwards, where Colby's trying to make a rational, and it sounds like a factual point, where if you put all of Masvidal's wins together, it wouldn't equal like sort of Colby's record. It's something along the lines of that. And then what you get from Masvidal is responding with dick sniffer. Oh, you're a dick sniffer, you sniff dick. Hey, everyone's entitled to a hobby, yeah. But because of that repetition, he obviously uses that as a defense mechanism, as a shield. It's almost like just putting it out there to see if he can get a bite of Covington because he feels that that's worth, or, you know, the material, the content, the words that he's using are enough to trigger a response from Colby Covington. But it's interesting where you've got Covington with a factual-based response and then Masvidal saying, you sniff dick.
Jorge Masvidal. It's Saturday night. I'm going to show you the cure for it. It ain't ever coming back.
Jorge, I guess, Jorge, the question I had for you is, you know, Colby has shown some improved striking over his past couple of fights. I wonder, do you believe that he's going to be willing to stand and trade with you, or do you think it's going to be wrestling from moment 1 to moment 25?
It's going to be him sniffing my dick
do whatever
the whole
the fuck
time.
I want to this
like
jerk.
He always does in every fight.
Fucking double-digit losses on his bum-ass career.
Up,
hey, Zach, for all you math wizards out there, if this guy won his next 45 fights in a row, he still wouldn't have a better winning percentage than me. He can win 45 fights.
And there's numerous examples of this all the way through the press conference. Truth be told, it wasn't a really good press conference because there was no real interaction other than like shouting over each other. Yeah. However, an unintended consequence, an output, an observable system that we can see is that regardless that the two of them are saying we are, this is going to be like another fight, it's really not. The data that they're showing, that we are picking up on, tells us that there's a high probability, now it's not guaranteed, all right, it's not guaranteed, but there's a high probability that this will not be like any other fight because of the baseline behaviours that shift and change what they're doing, because it's Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. And this is a really good example. It's like my chest is bigger than yours, which I get, all right? It is an animalistic reaction. It's a self-preservation reaction. That's why the species that we are as human beings today survives, because we have these, reactions or type of reactions. But the topic, all right, the topic is, well, how many times have you been to the White House? Now, what's your knockout record? I get. How many wins have you got? I get. How big's your check? I get. Who's got a bigger penis? I also get. And there's variations of that. Not just the size of the penis, but variations of I'm better than you. But to have it backwards and forwards about, well, who's been to the White House more than the other one? This is where it's getting into strange territory, proof that they're losing emotional control, but also that the egos very much are present, potentially more than they would like to admit. I mean, again, what's your opinions? Let me know below. But you've been there before. When someone said something to you, in fact, think about it. When somebody said something to you, that's triggered a response within your system. Depending on who said it and who's around you at the time when they've said it and the perceived impact that you then process it. That could have, evoked a reaction within inside you, a defensive reaction, sometimes an attack reaction, to try and not just tilt the scales back towards you, but dominate that person as well. Yeah, we've all done something where we reacted, afterwards when the Hulk has reduced itself. We're like, actually, there's probably a better way of doing this. And that's what's really going on in here, that they're being pulled into inconsequential, irrelevant type information thrown, but they've lost all sight of that because it's just, I want to dominate you, and no, I want to dominate you. And that's where we get the really interesting dynamic. And that's why I think this could be an interesting fight, because the press conference was terrible. Yeah. But because everything's cock-a-hoop, that could be really meaningful in the application of their combat strategy come Saturday night. Can they control it, is my question. And with the behaviours we've got, again, I can't make this up, this is what we're seeing here, it's like, I'm not too sure. The press conference and the octagon are two different environments. Will it correlate across here? Will it not? We don't know. But what is correct, what is factually correct, is we're right to be curious about, could this be an absolute banger because of lack of emotional control? Because of lack of emotional control.
Trump knows you're phony. That's what I know.
He calls your phone. He calls my phone after every fight. How many times you went to White House?
Dumb bitch.
How many times you went to White House?
You're dumb.
How many times you went to White House? Oh, yeah, you never went.
Bitch.
You never went, Junior. You never fucking went. You're fucking
dumb.
nobody.
You're
Fucking
stupid. You wasted their money on that
I'm
chain.
stupid, but you can't tell me
You don't
how a
get
bill
paid for
becomes a
it, man.
law.
How much did that cheap-ass chain cost?
Becomes a law.
How much that?
And then this last one that I want to see here, this is where they've equaled each other in being able or unable to pull back, reassess, and be in control of the situation. So they're actually whispering each other now. Again, it's a good example about the proximals. They start leaning in, they start trying to close that space. And they're actually trying to show that they're not bothered, but by trying to show that the other one's not impacting them, by trying to show that they're not bothered, they're exhibiting behaviours that's way above and beyond their baseline. They're exhibiting stuff that they just don't do.
Go ahead.
Bitch.
Guys, is there any part of you that...
Out, man.
What's the word I'm trying to use? Is there any part of you that's sad that your relationship is taking the turn that it has? Because obviously you two did have a bond before, and they're not listening to a word I'm saying right now. But
Jorge, you want to answer that one?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Going at it like two school kids, like leaning in, whispering, microphones off. One's not dominating the other. They are equally being pulled backwards and forwards by each other. One, Covington or Masvidal, not being able to pull away. So when you're looking at who's going to win this fight, when you're looking at the psyche behind it, all right, we've got to acknowledge that this, for both Masvidal and for Covington, all right, we've got to be fair and balanced, is not like a fight that they've had before. Nobody that they've fought before has got that history, has got that relationship that they've had building up to this fight. And what's really interesting, and I might be just about to rock the boat here, I don't actually think they hate each other as much as the narrative says, as much as they're trying to lean into it. Now you might say, oh, Believer and Bruce, like, how can that be true? Of course they hate each other. They've got too much beef. They've got too much history. But I generally don't believe that they do. When you've had an experience with someone over a period of years as a friendship, yes, you might be, how can I say, annoyed, frustrated, hurt, wounded that they've done something. But because we're human beings, yeah, there will always be an element within the hippocampus, the memory part of the brain, that remembers that good connection. That's why you are friends in the first time. Yeah, that's why you are friends the first time. And then how that translates into, cognitive thoughts, hormonal reactions, and then muscular output, and that's what we're interested in, the muscular output, the performance come fight night, is I genuinely believe that this fight could be a banger, not because they hate each other, but because of the fallout about, well, what happens if I lose to Covington, or what happens if I lose to Masvidal? I think that's the interesting dynamic here, yeah, is that they have got a friendship there, and remember, a percentage of that friendship will still be there because they're humans with a head and a heart, and I do believe that still resides there, okay? But it's just like the Amir Khan-Kell Brook fight. It's the fear of losing to the other one that could be the thing, if not conditioned correctly, if they haven't worked on it, if they haven't prepared their fight or their training camps mentally correct, that could actually cause the gap, the lack of skill set, the lack of the applied game plan, that could be their kryptonite come fight night. So it's going to be a banger. It's going to be interesting. The emotion, it's such a whirlwind of emotion and how it plays out. And what does that mean for a winner? You know, from the press conference, who would you say would win? Again, you let me know below, because I'm going to say it's such a unique scenario with the history of two fighters to come together. You just can't tell. I get, a lot of people are saying Covington's got the skill set. I get a lot of people are saying Masvidal's got the knockout power. But when emotion is so up and down and fluctuated backwards and forwards like we've seen in this press conference, it's going to be a banger either way. So hopefully you've enjoyed learning about the proximals. What does that mean? The limbic system. Yeah, being pulled in, that dominance force as well. Learning to control yourself could be a real helpful environment as well if you want to increase your performance, not just in the fight game, but in any aspect of your life. So if you're interested in performance psychology, anything to do with the head and heart to help you think, feel, and act a little bit better, take 2 seconds, subscribe to the channel below, give me a thumbs up, but most importantly, leave your comments below and let me know what you think you saw in the press conference and what you think is going to happen on fight night as well. But more important than any of this, believe in Bruce. Please remember to be kind to yourselves and each other.
Big
45
sniffer.
fights in a